Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox, and today I want to talk about Veritas of the Flames a little bit before I get a chance to do a showcase with him or get him built up enough. I mean, it's looking like it's going to be a while before I can do the showcase I really want to, but I am theory crafting how to build a Veritas of the Flames team that makes the most of all of his abilities. And I want your help in that, so Internet, please give me your ideas and expand what data I've collected on building the ultimate slash nullification team, because this is quite a challenge. But first, let's talk about Veritas of the Flames. So, one key idea for this guy is that he gets an attack boost every third turn from a support skill and from the skill Red Inferno. Talking about his skills, or support skills, we have 24% attack, slash resistance of 12%, which will bring him up to 47% total, which is quite high, slash penetration of 40, and boosts his attack every third turn. From there, you could either go with 24% attack and defense penetration of 40, which will give him slash and defense penetration of 40, which is pretty good. Or you could go with movement and agility plus 12, which will increase his chances on certain maps of being within attack range on his third turn. A key buff for this guy and a key buff for the slash resistance team gives Man-Eater, General 25. This is especially going to increase the damage of follow-up skills, which is going to be important for at least one character that we're going to talk about today, and is going to increase slash resistance for these two characters by 25%, while also giving him physical damage 20%, courage, and wider area attack resistance of 35, which is both great offense and defense, in addition to the offense and defense he's providing to both characters. Then, our other buff here is going to give defense penetration of 40, AoE resistance penetration of 40, anti, slash, and strike counter for self. So if we can completely nullify slash damage, then we can make it also very likely that we don't take any damage, but they take damage from us instead, and completely turn around on them. For the LB, which is the new part that he will be getting soon, 50% defense penetration and 50% damage absorbed. This is in a big X AoE. Talking about his skills though, we have kind of a key debuff here. It absorbs 50% damage, it attacks in a diamond AoE, and it breaks slash penetration by 40. Now, at this point in the game, slash penetration is likely to be somewhere between 40 and 100% on offensive characters, and this could be in increments of 20. Most likely it's somewhere around 60 to 70, so slash penetration reduction of 40 could really turn off a lot of their ability to do damage to you, even reducing their damage by more than 50%. At least if you have your team built in the way that I'm going to describe later. It also lowers their reaction block rate, and it can paralyze them. Then there is a plus shape 2-hit skill that breaks barriers before dealing damage and bestows... Oh, sorry, it's not a 2-hit skill. It bestows a 50% physical barrier that is 2 hits. Looking at sub-jobs. For the main sub, there is a self-healing attack and an AP restore skill. For Martialist, you can get more attack or more courage. He already has courage, so this is a little bit redundant. It doesn't necessarily need the bonus attack. For Dragoon, though, I really like Dragon's Kin. This brings in attack and protect. He has a lot of ways of increasing his physical defense and physical attack, but he does not specifically have an attack boost or a protect skill. So these could boost things he's already good at even higher. It also gives crit rate up and reaction block. Thing is, he already has 2 good buffs. This would be a 3rd buff. So either you're turning one of those off, and they are both rather key for him, and maybe even more important than this, or you're just living with the fact that he's using 3 buffs. And on some maps, maybe this is the best you can do. There's also a big AoE healing break that hits in a square, and movement up skill in case you didn't pick the movement up and agility up support skill, but still need kind of that ability. Again, you're going to run into the place where you have to replace a buff, but here we are. Key ideas for partners. Wider area attack breaking could be important for keeping his AoE damage up. AoE resistance breaking could also be important, but he has 40 AoE resistance penetration, which is very high. Follow-up damage can be important for maximizing the Man-Eater buff. And, of course, high slash resistance. So let's talk about building a slash nullification team. 100% anti-slash on any given character is going to be a combination of 20 to 25% buffing, 20 to 24% your main vision card, 8 to 13% sub-vision card, 7 to 10% equipment passives, and 3 to 39% base and support, so this is for the unit that you choose, and then 6 to 25% for your Esper. As you can see, if you have the right stuff for the rest of the things, you basically only need to be positive in slash resistance, technically, to fit on here. But those main VCs are going to really narrow down our job choice for this team by quite a bit. At least to get the 24%, you can always get 20% with Solidus on basically any team. So it's not that bad, but if you use some of these other VCs that are job-based, you can also get a lot of other bonuses. Your team may be a bit more powerful overall. So that's what I'm really going to be aiming for here. Looking at the teams that synergize the most with this, we're looking at Axe, Glove, and Fist. So for those characters, the best slash resistance is Slime. He doesn't bring basically anything else to the table except for being 80% slash resistant, and because he is all jobs and all weapon types, he could equip any of the job-based VCs here and easily get to 100% or far, far more, even without buffing. And that kind of makes him unique. Next, 35%, we have Veritas of the Flames, and with supports he can reach 47%. This, in addition to his slash attack resistance penetration being the strongest of its kind in the game, he is basically required to build this team. 30% comes from either Grifford or Addison Ray. 25%, but this goes up to 37% with support, is Edward Elric. And then there's a bunch of characters that only have 20%, but are perfectly good. 2P, Elia the Alabaster, Perrine, Alphonse, Snow, Veritas of the Earth, Veritas of the Frost, and the new Sodley coming about a month into the future. Looking at spear characters, and we can still do this with our vision cards perfectly well, we have Glaciella, Flagbearer Reform at 30% slash resistance, and then for 20% we have Volke, Fang, and Jaden the Celebrated. And he actually ends up having a lot of other support for this team as well. Looking at other characters into the future, we have 30% slash resistance for Angela. For Lilith, who also has some kit that could be very helpful, we have 20%, but that goes up to 32% with support. And then for, I'm calling him Durian, we have 20% slash resistance, and he could also do some other things here too. Looking at the auras that these characters give us access to, we have AoE resistance aura from Sodley, damage resistance aura from Veritas of the Earth, and a unit resistance aura from Volke. And just to take a second, a side note, if anyone can build this team, you have 2 layers of damage resistance, all type damage resistance, by aura within this team, which is pretty ridiculous. I think this team itself could be pretty cool. Looking at equipment that we could use here, 10% slash resistance comes from either the Platinum Helm or the limited Jack Frost doll. 8% we can get that from the Mage's Habit or Ed's Pocket Watch, at least for Edward Elric. And then for 7% you may as well go with the Truststone passive. Looking at the vision cards that make this work, we have With the Setting Sun for Axe, Glove, Fist, and Spear, a Formidable Foe for Axe, Bow, Glove, and Fist, and the Flame Emperor VC for Glove, Spear, Katana, and Devout. All of these give 24%. You want those as your main VC. They give 13% in the sub slot. So if you have 2 of these in a team that works with both of them, you could go up to 37% from your vision cards alone. Easy 20% from Solidus. This works for anybody. Downtime works only for wind, but the other effects of the vision card are party-wide for anyone. Encounter of Heroes gives 20% to fire parties. Scorpion Sentinel is the lightning card. Fruit of Life and Eterna Puritas are both cards that work for ice. For 16%, you can use the Balam Garden Cafe for Fist, Warrior, and Knight. 15% can be achieved by anyone with the Iron Giant VC. Tranquil Warmth and Lich work for Ice and Earth respectively. For 10% for Earth, you can use the Sheraton VC. For Espers, 25% can be received from Dark Efreet and Golden Ahriman, 15% from Sildra, Master Coeurl, Anima, and Sheraton, and 6% from Scorpion Sentinel. But the thing that is most important, well, there's two things, buffs and debuffs. That's what this team is going to work on. It's very hard to get to 100% slash resistance with most characters, although there's at least two in this pool that could do it without buffs. So buffs here are going to be important. We're going to aim for 20 to 25% slash resistance, hopefully across the party, or at least a 2-turret skill like Veritas of the Flames has, and a self buff. So some of these self buffs could be important if you're working with Veritas of the Flames, but also potentially with Jaden the Celebrated or the new Lilith, as both of those characters have a plus shape 25% slash resistance buff. For Veritas of the Flames, it's going to be 2 units, Veritas of the Flames being one of them, and whoever probably has Initial Hate being the second. And then for Perrine, Glaciella, Alphonse, and Edward, they all have a self-buff that gives them 25%. So either with those plus-shaped buffs or with Veritas of the Flames, they could be the third unit and they could get their buff up that way. And then Aliyah the Alabaster has a 20% plus-shaped buff. I think this may be conditional on the recipients having courage though, so this might be a little bit shaky. So you're going to want one of those, if not 2 of those characters. At least one of Jaden, Lilith, or Veritas of the Flames. And the third character should probably be one of those other 5. But also, on the debuff side, you're going to need maybe a combination of things. The most important is reducing slash attack resistance penetration. Now, luckily, the 3 characters that can do this in the game are also the 3 characters that could buff multiple people for slash resistance that we just talked about. So as long as you have Veritas of the Flames, the new Lilith, or Jaden the Celebrated, you can basically do both sides of this. But if you want to add to this, additional thing that you might want to do is reduce defense penetration as well. This gives you a second way of walling their damage if you're maybe having trouble with the slash penetration side. There are 3 characters that can do this: Veritas of the Earth, Durian, who can actually maybe do it a little bit better than Veritas of the Earth, but he's a worse tank. Really just use Veritas of the Earth. And Volke can actually do this for defense and spirit. Nowhere near as strong as the other 2, but he can do it for both of those things, which might help a little bit. You're not really building this team to go up against magic, even though there are magic slash characters particularly. You're really focusing more on defense, but Volke could do some of this for spirit, which could be cool. So really, you want one of those 3 characters, and then you want to pick at least one of these other 2, or one of these characters that does each of these things. This really means that even when you consider all of the options that are available in the game, that one of the best combinations for doing everything that you need to do here is still Veritas of the Flames and Veritas of the Earth. And then if you're running a team like that, then your final character should either be Perrine, Glaciella, Alphonse, or Edward, or Aliyah. So one of those 5 probably fills out this team the best, depending on what you have. And with all that being said, let me know what you think. I only checked kind of a select set of things and jobs because of the vision cards I thought would be strongest for this, but there is a lot of variety in how you could build out bases and supports here. So there could be a variety of different characters, either someone completely outside of these jobs who maybe doesn't need the vision card support, who has closer to 39, or maybe someone who is, who could use Solidus. Or maybe someone who has the right buffs, or maybe someone who works in with one of these other vision cards. I mean, potentially, you could be running a team with either bow, katana, or devout characters, and I really didn't look at them at all. So if you have any other ideas, let me know in the comments. If you want to show your support, the free-to-play option for YouTube is to like, subscribe, ring the bell, because I am a foul-mouthed fox and that can get my content restricted a little bit, so make sure you get new content by clicking that bell. And while you're at it, click the link in the description for more ways to support the channel. I have another YouTube channel, a podcast. I write books. I have several books up for sale, including one that's on sale for $15 in hardback. It even happens while we sleep. And you can also donate to support the channel. Before I end this up, though, I want to say my overall thoughts on the best, most important units for this team generally. Number 1, Veritas of the Flames. Number 2, Jaden the Celebrated, who can basically do all the same things that Veritas of the Flames can in a lot of ways. Veritas of the Earth is a uniquely strong character for this that brings a whole new dynamic to the field. Then we have Lilith, who also basically does all of the same things that Veritas of the Flames does. Maybe not quite as well, but is a good substitute for him. Sadly 2.0, because, he has a great aura. He has good base, / resistance. It's certainly viable on this team, and that AoE resistance could also help. But also he can use that Man-Eater buff to do more damage with this follow-up skill. That could be very powerful. Volke is also here because he has respectable starting / resistance and an aura that could be very beneficial, although he doesn't really have the follow-up. He does, on the other hand, have the ability to support the whole defense penetration strategy, and he's one of the better characters to do this other than Veritas of the Earth. And then in terms of characters that you add in, the best ones that I think could be added to this team are Elia the Alabaster, Glaciella Flagbearer of Reform, or Edward. These characters are all quite good into this dynamic at varying levels of goodness. And then your honorable mention, kind of limited choice, 10th place slot is Slime, just because